Terrific performance from him. As promised, time to bring in our Richard Jefferson. And Richard, you talked in the pregame about how this Nets offense would flow. What would it look like? And the fact that they needed to limit turnovers. We did see that huge response late and into overtime. It's just game one. Not quite enough, though. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it wasn't quite enough tonight, but there was a lot of positives. One, I stand by that. There was definitely a fatigue factor when you have Kyrie with the break, the short break that he was on. Then you had you have James Harden that's still building up his conditioning, and then all of a sudden you get a double overtime game when you're asked to play 50 minutes. That's next to impossible to be. I don't care how great of a player you are to be able to knock down big shots. A lot of shots fell short, but ultimately I think the Nets, they had the opportunity to really kind of take complete control after starting the game 10 for 10, but they turned the ball over, and then after that they missed their next 11 shots. So it was really a roller coaster to start this game, and then they found themselves in a dogfight, and Colin Sexton just took over in that second quarter, or in that second overtime.
Richard, at the end of the first overtime, 1.2 seconds to go, you mentioned it on the telecast, where Kevin Durant, it looked like he wanted that ball a little bit sooner on the inbounds pass from Kyrie Irving. What about that?
Well, look, at the end of the day, Kyrie's in a difficult spot because he's got Jared Allen guarding him. So, the range and area that you can just throw a pass isn't very, very easy. And also, too, they still got a very good shot. So his job as the inbounder is to be as safe as possible. That being said, if there was a slight opportunity to get him that ball, maybe a second and a half earlier where he's shooting that turnaround from 17 and not, 21 feet, that would make that shot that much easier, especially late in the game. The shot fell short, as a lot of their shots did late. So the closer that shot would have been, the better. But, still got a quality shot, still didn't turn over the ball. So, it just didn't fall tonight.
Richard, talk about Kyrie Irving, and he's working his way back. How did he look to you today?
This wasn't a 2-week vacation. He was doing everything he needed to do to make sure that he was in prime condition when he came back to the Brooklyn Nets.
This group of players, Richard, they played the last 18:45 of the game, including Kyrie, who, like you mentioned, had been off for 2 weeks. What do you make of that? It seems like Steve Nash still has to try to figure it out because they went really small. It worked for a while. Obviously, that second overtime, they didn't have much left.
Yeah, they didn't have much left, and that's bound to happen. I would look for him even in that next game on Friday. The teams aren't practicing a lot. The only way to really, truly improve your conditioning sometime is to play through it. I do crack, a few jokes about the sports science team that that they're going nuts seeing these, especially with, like we talked about James Harden, we talked about Kyrie, but ultimately these guys are professionals. They are the most finely tuned athletes in the entire world. They're able to handle this. Now, is this something that you want to see consistently? No. But the guys looked good. They were moving well. And it's just one of those things, you respect Steve Nash's decision. I actually personally like to see this. Go with your horses. They'll have a complete day off tomorrow. And then Friday, maybe get some substitutions early so that they're not playing that full game and then give them that second half. But I actually like to see stars, playing like stars and playing those minutes.
Richard, what about Kevin Durant? Let's turn our attention now to him. He and Harden working that pick and roll. They were on
the overtime, whether it was deflections, steals, block shots. That's what they're going to need. Look at this, a 12 for 25, 12, 8, and 4 night, 4 blocks for Kevin Durant and 38 points. Like, the dude looks like he never missed any time, any games. It looks like, he's, one of the best players on the planet.
50 minutes for James Harden tonight, Richard, and he only takes 14 shots. I was looking at his stats from last year. He had a game where he took 41 shots. You mentioned him deferring. He had played so well in those first 2 games, initiating the offense, scoring. Do you think he deferred maybe too much in this game?
No, I don't think so. I think his goal, like, again, we're talking about a man that just had a 21-point, 10 rebound, 12 assists. He just had a triple-double, right? So it's like he knows how to get anything he wants out of the game. And like I said, I want to compliment him or respect him. When you allow a guy like, Kyrie Irving to get going, here, Kyrie, get your rhythm going. Like, this is a big three, one of the best big threes talent-wise and accomplished-wise that we've seen in a while. And so when you really really break it down, the way he really finessed the game. Got Jeff Green, had a great first half. There was a lot of contribution from guys. And if James Harden's going to take on that role of I believe I can average a triple-double, but again, he only took 2 or 3 shot attempts, and then he had double-digit shot attempts in the second half. He's going to have double-digit most likely on both halves, but I think this was purely by intention to make sure that he could get everyone going and everyone flowing.
So it's a day off and then another game at this very same team in the very same town at Cleveland on Friday. What's the approach?
Well, I think the approach is understanding that, you got to limit your turnovers. They shot the ball extremely efficient, but there were some defensive lapses, and look, they're still figuring it out. Everyone expects that when you put these teams together, that it's going to be this fireworks from the beginning. They're going to have some moments. Like you saw, start off the game 10 for 10. Everything's going crazy. Then they mix their next 11 shots and they have 7 turnovers in the first half. These are things that they will correct. They will become more consistent. They'll get a better flow for each other. Okay, Kevin Durant's missed a couple of shots, couple of threes. Maybe James Harden doesn't take a 3. He decides to go downhill because they've shot a bunch of jumpers. It's all a rhythm and a flow for everyone in the organization, including the coaching staff, figuring out the best way to keep 2 superstars on the court, give one a break. If that means allowing James Harden to start the game, kind of distributing the ball, then allow Kyrie to handle the ball at the end of the first quarter and the start of the second quarter. So there's a lot of things that you're going to tweak and you're going to play with, and it's probably going to take a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months, for them to find their strongest lineup and to gather that data that will show it.
The journey is on. Thanks so much, Richard. Excellent stuff. Have a great rest of your night, and we look
against the Cavs. Kyrie missed the last 7 games due to personal reasons and COVID protocols. And here he was addressing the media for the first time. Take a listen.
I'm wondering if you were aware that you had violated the health and safety protocols and what that process was like for you in coming back and going through that investigation, 1. And then secondly, what your communication was like with the team while you were away.
Happy to be back. Happy to be around these guys, address the team, address everybody that need to be addressed. Now it's time to move on.
I just was circling back on the health and safety front.
Happy to be back. Thank you. I'm a hometown kid, so, things hit a little different when, family or personal stuff going on, and that's up to me to handle that as a man. But yeah, I just take full accountability for my absence with the guys and, just had a conversation with each one of them and we move on. It's, pretty interesting in watching when you take a break from everything. There's just so many assumptions about what's going on. And so many people feel like they know me best and they have no idea who I am, nor what I'm about, or what I stand for, or even attempt to take the time, or even for me to invite them to take the time. So it's a 2-way street. And when things become overwhelming in life, you just got to take a step back and realize what's important. That's the big thing. I just want honesty. And in order to be honest, I got to be honest myself. And that's the first thing. So I know I can talk in circles and I know all these words get used, but I'm just being honest here. It's been a lot to balance. And now I called for help. And now I have just so many mentors and so many people reaching out and, just taking things off my plate that were never mine in the first place. And they are better suited for that position. So I'll play my role on this big team of changing the world, and others will do the same.
So pretty expansive there at the end. Richard, what's your reaction to Kyrie's comments?
Well, look, people, I actually got criticized when I said I hope he gets whatever, emotional, whatever, mentally, whatever help he needs, whether it's a lot going on and he needed to have mentors, people reach out to him, people check in. I said that a couple weeks ago.
You said that on the show a couple days ago, yeah.
Because it's more of like, hey, Kyrie, if Kyrie needs some time, we all get overwhelmed. And athletes it's literally the only job where you don't just get to be like, hey, I need a couple days off. Now I understand the money, I understand the months off, but if in the middle of the thick of it, you're dealing with something and you need to take time off, shout out to, Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan that have really talked a lot about, dealing with their mental health. And so whatever he needed, if he got what he needed and he now has an infrastructure that will allow him to deal with it, good for him. I'm glad to have him back.
Yeah, it was good to just see him smile.
Yeah.
Just to have him back. He's one of our game's greats. And, we all go through our trials and tribulations. And the only thing is, when you go through these things, it's about the respect of the organization and your teammates. The constant, because when he first went away, there was no communication. Nobody knew what was going on. That's what your teammates, that's what the organization is there for you, to help you in those times. I know you have family, they can help you also. It's just the only thing I had a problem with was the communication. We all, like I said, we go through the things that we go through in life, and sometimes it's tough to step away from the game. But I use the game to help me get through these things also. I needed to be on the court when I went through my troubles. I needed to be in practice. I needed to be around guys who relate to some of the things that we all go through as professional players and role models.
Yeah.
And Kyrie noted that his family lives locally, and that he said that hits different. Obviously, your involvement with your family, if something is going on in your family, or even if something's just going on with him, everybody is there and around, which is a little bit different.
Home is tough, but one of the things that he talked about was like, oh, well, a lot of people just started to assume. Well, you know what happens when people assume is because there was no communication. So I think he takes some ownership of this. I think people that were, questioning him or not criticizing him, but more of asking him what was going on or alluding to different things. Well, that also falls on you, right? That falls on you to communicate hey, I'm dealing with some personal stuff. I need some time away. And, hopefully he learns from this. And if he needs more time or whatever it is, it can be addressed.
I mean, look, he said, people assume they know about me. And he said, without even talking to me. And then he very quickly corrected himself. He said, or I don't want to let them in to talk to me. And he said, that's a two-way street, which I certainly appreciated him making that distinction. There were repeated questions at the beginning of, hey, what was going on with you, basically? And you heard him say over and over again, hey, I've addressed it with the people I need to address. Do you feel that there was enough information there, especially eventually as he got into talking more, for Brooklyn Nets fans of the team?
He doesn't owe, and this is, I want to say this as a person that has been a net lifer, he owes the fans very little. And I mean this from a respect place. He owes the teammates. He owns, because hypothetically, you could be traded, you could retire, and the fans, you don't owe them an answer. Barry Sanders, they're still looking for him in Detroit, right? Calvin Johnson, they're still looking for him, right? You can up and retire and not say anything to anybody. So I don't say that. You owe it to the people in the locker room, the people that have supported you, the people that you go to war with, the people that you go to battle. And if those guys are cool, then it's not up to the media, it's not up to the fans, it's only the people that he has to show up with every day.
You say the people who support him, the fans support him.
I understand that, but you can't, if you've got millions and millions of fans, you can't individually address them. You can't tell everybody. You got to have some parts of your life that are private.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's my only thing, is that as long as the people in the locker room are okay with him, then Kyrie can move forward and be the great player that he is, right? It's just tough when, you're that individual. You feel like you owe a lot of people.
They go out and play well, win games, everybody will forget everything.
There you go.
Well, it looks like they're playing well already without him. And then, boy, just add another elite player into the mix.